Welcome along to this evening's webinar with FirstPoint USA. My name's Ross Duncan. I head up the marketing team here at FirstPoint, and I'll be the host this evening. And we're delighted to be joined by Freddie Bell, a FirstPoint USA alum who has been at Penn State University in the States for the past 3 years. Very talented soccer player or footballer, having been captain of Crystal Palace's under-18s team before he headed to the States within the Crystal Palace Academy. He's been at Penn State since 2003, 23, is that right? 22?
I think so, yeah.
So he's had 3 seasons so far, played over 40 games in one of the country's biggest and most prestigious athletic departments. So we're delighted to be joined by Freddie this evening, and he's going to give a little bit of his own insights into what life has been like as a student athlete over there, and really focused on kind of when he first started, when he was in the same shoes as a lot of you guys on the webinar tonight, preparing to go out for your freshman season. So that's really the kind of main theme of this evening, just kind of reflecting back on how best to prepare, trying to give you guys advice. I know a lot of you are FirstPoint athletes yourself, preparing to go out in a few weeks' time to start your freshman season. So I think Freddie, having kind of played at the highest level of college soccer, has got some great experiences that he'll be able to share with you, pass on some hints and tips. And then my colleague, Gary McDonald, who heads up our soccer talent management team, he's going to join us towards the end of the webinar as well. And again, just pass on some more technical guidance and really all about helping you prepare before you fly out to the States yourself. So thanks for everybody who's joined us this evening. We are recording the session, so if you do happen to miss any of it, or if you have to duck out before the end, everyone who registered will be sent a recording of it tomorrow. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for the full thing. Should be really interesting, getting Freddie's insights. I've got a lot of questions that we've kind of prepared for Freddie, but if you do have any of your own questions that haven't been asked as we progress, feel free to drop them in the chat box, which you should see on your screen, and we'll ask the best questions of Freddie at the end if they've not already been answered. So we shall get started. So yeah, Freddie, you're obviously back home in South London or Surrey for the summer. You've been out in the States for 3 years. If you could just kind of summarize how your experience has been so far at Penn State.
Yeah, of course. Good evening, everyone. I'm Freddie. Yeah, my experience, to be honest with you, has been pretty incredible. I've loved every minute of it from the first day I got there. Obviously, it was hard leaving home, but I thought take the leap, and it has been an incomparable experience. I feel like I've got everything that I wanted from it so far, and it's just been, yeah, the sporting environment that you're in, the school culture itself, and just everything it has to offer was just everything I wanted and more. It's been very, very good so far.
Fantastic to hear. And for those in the audience that maybe don't know, so obviously Penn State University is a very big name in college sport. Tell us where about in the country is it? What is the campus like? And maybe a little bit about, maybe the weather. It's obviously in the north of the country, so how the kind of climate pans out over the course of a season.
Yeah, so Penn State is in the middle of the state of Pennsylvania. Which is, it's sort of, the campus is surrounded by New York, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh, about 3 hours each, which is, it's nice because you've got the ability to go to New York on a weekend if you've got that time off, and go to Philadelphia. That's usually where I fly into, is Philadelphia. So it's sort of in the middle, but it just pops up out of nowhere. You're driving through like a highway in the middle of nowhere, and then you see Beaver Stadium, the American football stadium, just pop out of nowhere, and then you're on the campus. Big old campus, but yeah, it is, the town itself is lovely. The climate, I say, is extreme versions of the UK. So the winters are much colder. It does get down there. Snow, you do get a lot of snow, but then the summers are warmer, which is nice because you get a bit of both. There's always a summer where the sun's out, it is warm, which is something to adapt to coming from England because it does get warm over there. But then also the winters are cold. You do have to wrap up. It sort of gets down there to, I'd say, minus 10, 15 at its worst. But it's manageable. It is definitely manageable. But yeah, more on the campus. I think because the campus is the town, it is the city, it's not within a city, it makes it feel like everyone there is rooting for Penn State. Everyone's behind the university, which is nice. It creates an atmosphere that I think is awesome because you go into a Starbucks and it's still Penn State. The cups are Penn State. And there is just a complete and utter love for Penn State and the school. And I think that is built because you're in the environment constantly of the university. So yeah, it's pretty nice over there. I do enjoy it.
Yeah, I've been to the campus. I mean, the sports facilities there are absolutely incredible. We'll maybe talk a little bit more about Beaver Stadium, the football stadium, and I know you guys have got new soccer facilities as well. And yeah, they're probably above anything most people might have seen, certainly within a university. So that's a good one to talk about further down the line. So taking you back to kind of 3 years ago, Freddie, at this time, you were about to set out to the States. Can you remember what were the kind of key elements of your final preparations? Obviously getting helped by FirstPoint a little bit, hopefully, but yeah, what were the key things that you were kind of planning or preparing for in the last few weeks before departure?
Yeah, it was FirstPoint did help me a lot because there is a lot to go through. And that is one of the things that I was going to mention is all like the visas, paperwork, I-20, just making sure you've got that all set, all prepared. I'm 3 years down the line. I still have a little folder that was recommended to me by the guys at FirstPoint, and I still have that folder that I take because it is just something that you need to prepare for. Once you get into the States, they will ask for your visa. They will ask where you're going to school. And I think just being prepared for that, prepared for entry into the US is one of the main things. I would say also saying goodbye to all my friends and family, obviously moving away for the first time. You're going to go away for 3 or 4 months. And I think just preparation for that, saying goodbye. That was one of my main things. And then another thing was staying in contact with coaches, sort of that preparation of, all right, I'm going out in 3 weeks. I'm going to make sure these last 3 weeks I'm staying in contact with my coach. I'm asking them what they want me to do, whether that's fitness stuff, whether that's training, whether that's, again, making sure all my paperwork's ready for not just entry to the US, but entry into the school as well. So I think that's another thing, just ensuring that the coaches know what sort of page you're on and that you're all prepared to hit the ground running when you get there. And then finally, I think just a bit of mental prep, like moving away from home, like you will be on your own, but it's just preparing for that. You're in a professional environment from day to day, again, preparing for that, but you want to be as mentally prepared to, as I said, hit the ground running as soon as you start. You're there to play your sport, you're there to win, and just being mentally prepared for that, I think, was a big thing for me. So they were the main things, I think.
Great advice. And was there anything that you maybe missed out on that you didn't do that in hindsight that you would have done looking back, or did you feel you had everything covered?
I think I just took the advice of the guys at FirstPoint. I made sure I had all my stuff set out. I made sure I packed all the right things. Probably overpacked, to be honest with you, but that's just the way it goes. You're moving away for a while. So there isn't anything that jumps out. Maybe just as the first time I entered the US, wasn't really prepared for the the customs, they ask you a couple of questions, and I think just being prepared that they're just trying to understand why you're there. I still get it now, like what school are you going to, what you're hoping to study, are you here for sport? And I think just being prepared for that would be my last advice on that.
Yeah, different to going out on a holiday or a vacation to the States when you're going out there as a full-time student. So again, taking you back to your kind of first arrival on campus then, what were your first impressions of the campus? Had you been out to see it before, or was this the first time you'd been at Penn State?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to go and visit Penn State with my family. I think 4 months before I actually went. And I mean, it's not necessary, but I would recommend it if you can, because it sort of gives you that idea of where you're going. I knew the environment that I was going into. I didn't know my way around, but I knew what the campus was like. But then again, a lot of my teammates didn't go there, didn't visit. So I don't think it is necessary, but it's just one of them nice things to do. And then when I went out there to start full time, me and my parents flew out, and again, obviously I'd been there before, but that first impression sort of hits you again. And it was a little bit daunting, like the size of the campus and sort of being in a different place and knowing that you're going to live there. But once I left my parents and I was sort of immersed into the dorm and into my teammates and the student athlete environment, I found myself at home very, very fast. I was very, very nervous, I'm going to be honest, but as soon as I started the first day, you'd already made friends because you're on that team. You have the social, like going out, seeing your teammates. People would have barbecues and people would go and play golf. And I think being a freshman going in, they do look out for you, and they do know your situation. Everyone's been in the same situation. And I think my first impression of that was just how much effort they put into making sure our freshman class was all in the best place possible. And obviously you've got each other, which made it easier because they're your teammates, and now a lot of them are my best friends. So it's very good.
Absolutely. And a question, actually, we'll ask this one just now because it's quite relevant to the previous answer. So you talk about packing the right things, and it's that sort of practical element of the advice. Is there any examples of really handy things you packed, or things that you wish you'd packed, or things that you didn't actually need that you packed?
Yeah, you do. So I'd say some things that I did pack that maybe I didn't need is a lot of like sportswear, because a lot of the teams, you'll get a lot of gear that they give you when you're there. Running shirts, shorts, training gear. But I'd also say being prepared, like if you're going out there for football, taking a pair of boots out with you, or taking a couple of pairs of boots out with you just in case. Again, like charging adapters. I went out there, didn't have one. And obviously you can get them from Target, Walmart, wherever, but it's just nice to have one as soon as you get there, you can plug your phone straight in. I'm trying to think what else I may have packed that I didn't need or overpacked. I think just small things like, the chargers, or like the athletic gear, just making sure you've got your boots if you're playing. But nothing really pops out. I think there is, if you forget something, there's a lot of ways to get it over there. But obviously it's not ideal. But yeah, I wouldn't say anything jumps out to me.
Yeah, that's something we'll be sharing with anyone who is going out in the next few weeks. We've got a kind of checklist and a guide, and that includes some of the essentials to pack and maybe some of the things not to pack. So that again, good advice from Freddie there, and that's something we'll be following up with you. And in terms of kind of meeting your teammates then for the first time, When did that happen? Had you communicated with any of the guys beforehand, or were you kind of meeting them or speaking to them in person for the first time?
Yeah, that was actually going to be one of my tips that I was going to give, is not being afraid to reach out to your teammates, whether that's guys who are going in as freshmen, the same as you are, or even older guys. When I went in, I know that I messaged older guys, I messaged guys in my year, but just making sure that you know people that you're going in to see. I think that was one of the things I did, and then meeting them for the first time. The freshmen I met for the first time was when I got to the dorms, and that's because you're living with them, and a pretty easy environment to get along with people in there. And then the following day, we had an early morning practice where the whole team was there, and everyone's in the same boat because everyone's first day. And the environment that they created was one that was really enjoyable to start with. And I don't think there's a better way to bond with your teammates than practicing with them and training with them. So I think it was good to sort of head straight into that environment. And you also you gain respect from your teammates because you're there straight away practicing, and they can see what you're there for. And I think that was a nice way to sort of be introduced. And then from there, as I said, you hang out with each other after, go around people's houses, playing games, and even in the locker room, playing ping pong. And just in that locker room environment, it's very, very easy to just spend a lot of time with each other and create those bonds.
Absolutely. Like-minded group of guys.
Exactly.
So again, looking at that first week, then what does the structure of that first week actually look like? Obviously you've got things to collect and sign for and what have you. Talk us a little bit about your experience of the first week.
Yeah, there is a lot going on in the first week. It's a lot of like orientation stuff, like getting your keys for your dorm, ID cards. And it's not like, they're not big things, they're just like little things to sort of tick off the list. So yeah, I remember getting my key for my dorm and then moving into my dorm, and then from there I would go and get the essentials, things like snacks, bedding, maybe a TV for your room if you need it, and stuff like you would go meet academic advisors, having meetings with coaches, just for them to know that you're there, that you've made it safely, and that you're ready to hit the ground running. So yeah, I think the start of the week was very getting keys, ID cards, sorting my room out, get my bedding, making sure my room's in a nice way. And then from there, collecting training gear, meeting the coaches, and then meeting academic advisors. And then from there, it's really just start training, and then you hit your routine. And that's when you start playing and enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you talked about your kind of first training session. So when did that take place then, and how was your first training session? Did you feel kind of overwhelmed, or did you kind of feel you fitted in straight away?
Yeah, so I went out. So we were told to come out sort of fairly early for the summer. Traditionally, a lot of teams will have their teams come out during the summer, sort of early July, and that's when you'll start training. But there are rules that you're not allowed to train under coach's supervision. So a lot of it will be like a captain's practice, where the captains will lead the practices. So that first session was, it was a little bit daunting going in. You're meeting new guys for the first time, and I wouldn't say I necessarily hit the ground running, but there is that little bit of leeway because the coaches aren't training you yet. It's the captains. They completely understand you've just flown from England to a whole new place, and it's your first training session. They're not expecting you to turn up and be the next big thing. It takes time, and I think that was one of the main things that I really appreciated. was that I was allowed that little bit of time to settle in, find my feet, and then start training well. And I think that was made it easier to do so. So yeah, that was my first practice, and then from then it was, I think, 2 or 3 weeks of captain's practices, 2 weeks maybe, and then the coaches come in, and by that time you've found your feet, you've climatized to what you're doing, where you're living, and when they come in, you can be at the top of your game.
Yeah. And did you find you get a lot of support from some of the older guys in the team? Obviously, you're there as a freshman, and you'll have guys going into their senior year. How supportive were the more experienced players in the team?
I think that was one of the main reasons I initially went there, was because of the relationship between the older guys and the younger guys. I think I visited and I saw the relationships between every single player on the team. And as I said earlier, when I went in, I messaged a few of them, and the way that they do bring you in, take you under their wing, and just let you be who you are and play who you are with there's no backlash, no nothing. I think it made it really easy, and creating relationships with guys that are maybe 22, 23 when you're an 18-year-old kid was as easy as making relationships with a guy that's coming at the same age as you. And I think for me, that was one of the takeaways from when I was a freshman to now being a senior, being a captain, that you should, when you've got guys coming in, I remember when I was going in. So now it's my aim to treat them how I was treated. And I think that's really important. And it made my experience at the start a very easy one.
Yeah. And what was the kind of nationality split then within the team? We know there was a fellow Brit there and Matthew Henderson, a Scotsman. How many other Brits were on the team, and what was the kind of international makeup of the roster?
To be honest, there wasn't an English guy on the team. We just got one in last year. So we had 2, and then obviously Hendo was Scottish, Swedish. We had a couple of Danish boys, a couple of Southern Americans, I think Argentina. Can't remember who else. And then a couple of African guys as well. With Kato, who was from Kenya. So it is very, very diverse, which is awesome because there's guys in the same boat as you. But then you also get local guys as well from 2 hours down the road, from just outside of Philadelphia or just outside of Pittsburgh. So it does make it an environment which is very, very diverse, which is great. You're meeting people from all over the world and creating relationships with people all over the world. So now I'm a senior. We've got guys who have graduated 3 or 4 years ago who I'm still in contact with, who live in Buenos Aires or live in the middle of Kenya. And it is great. And yeah, such a cool experience to meet so many different people and play with so many different people.
A few good trips to look forward to around the world then with your
Exactly
team.
that.
Sounds good. You talked about your parents coming over with you, kind of first time out, going to visit. How often did you speak to your parents, and did you get homesick at all? And that's a question that comes up quite a bit, but how is the homesickness factor?
Yeah, it's one to take into consideration. I'm a homebody, so I've always been at home. I'm very close with my family. I have 2 older brothers, and I've always been super close with my family. Never lived away from home, and then obviously took this leap to move out to America, and it was pretty daunting because a guy that's never moved away from his home and speaks to his family every day, I did worry about being homesick, as I'm sure a lot of people on this call will. But being in an environment that's so fast paced and you're just doing stuff all the time, you don't really get a huge amount of time to even think about being homesick or think about, oh, I'm on my own, like I'm feeling down. Like there's constantly stuff you're doing, but also I still call my family, I reckon 4 or 5 times a week. On weeks maybe 3 or 4, and then some weeks I speak to them every single day. But it's just staying in contact, and also you're so busy with what you're doing and traveling for games. that it didn't really creep up on me as much as I thought it would. Obviously, there's days where you think, "Oh, I wish I was at home right now. I wish I was with my mum, her making me dinner and just like chilling with my family." But in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't awfully bad. I think I would recommend just staying in close contact with your families and giving them a call every day. Like find a pocket of 10 minutes, just give them a call, see what they've been up to, and I think that does help. And also when you get home, it's that there is no feeling like when you just get home when you see your family for the first time. So yeah, I wouldn't really dwell on being homesick. As I if anyone wasn't if I would have expected myself to be homesick and I wasn't. So there you go.
Good. Now it seems to be a common thread on similar calls to this, that you're almost kind of far too busy to be homesick, and there's so much going on, and the pace of it as well, as you've explained. So thanks for that. So getting back to the kind of football side of things, then you obviously moved from the UK to a different climate. So particularly in pre-season, how difficult was that to adjust to maybe like the heat, and I guess even the kind of different grass that you're going to be playing on, and humidity? How tough was that, and how tough maybe was the pre-season? Because again, some of the feedback we get is fitness is the kind of ultimate thing in the US. Did you feel you were fit enough when you arrived on campus?
Yeah, I think in terms of the climate to begin with, it was pretty hard. You go from training in 15-degree weather to training in 32-degree weather, you're going to feel it. And I think I felt that more than anything. Like I'd be training and I would start getting like goosebumps and stuff. But I think what I did to sort of overcome that was just trying to immerse myself in the weather for as long as I could. Try and train in it as much as you can. Like I remember my first 3 or 4 weeks, I would go out and just do a little bit on my own, just to be in the sun and just to be in that weather for a little bit longer. Obviously, don't wear yourself out, but it's just trying to find time where you can adapt quicker. But it was hard. I remember my first game at Georgetown, preseason friendly, on Bermuda grass as well, which I'd never played on either. And it's probably 33 degrees, and you're playing a game against a top 5 school in the country, and it was tough. Like it was really hard, but you have 2 or 3 preseason games and then you've adapted to it. And then the first league game was a similar scenario. I was Pittsburgh away, I'd say at least 30 degrees on a like a 4G as well. So the heat just like is everywhere. And I remember being like, I compare this to Georgetown 2.5 weeks ago, and I was just on a complete different level of ability to train under those conditions and play under those conditions. So I do think, long story short, I do think it is hard to begin with, but it's nothing that you can't necessarily adapt to in a rather quick way. So yeah, I would say that. And then in terms of the preseason aspect, I was thinking the other day about my first preseason. I don't, obviously people do preseason no matter where you are. English people, we do preseason before we start our season. I don't think it was a huge difference from a normal preseason. Obviously it's hard. You want to be prepared as much as you can. But I wouldn't be too, I don't think it's too dissimilar from any preseason I've had before. There are days that, yeah, it's hard, but preseason's hard. No one likes preseason. So
I guess anyone in the UK at the moment will be acclimatizing pretty well to the hot weather. So if you are preseason training with your club, then you're obviously going to be running about in 30-degree heat at the moment, which will be good for you in a few weeks' time. And then moving on to the kind of playing season, and obviously you've got your academics and studying and classwork at the same time. What would a typical day look like, or what does a typical day look like for you at the moment between balancing training and playing, traveling and academics?
Yeah, it's busy in season. I would say the main thing is time management. On a normal training day, I think probably get up at like 8 a.m., breakfast. Then you probably have classes. This is my traditional in-season day. I'd probably have classes from 9 until 12, maybe 2 or 3 classes, have lunch, then maybe go into the facility for some treatment. That could be whether you feel like you're carrying something, or whether you just need a stretch or have some recovery. That will take you up probably to 2 o'clock after you've had lunch, bit of treatment. And then I think from there you'd go to training, probably 3 till 5, half 5, depending on how far out you are from a game. Could be a light session, could be a heavy session. And then after that, you go straight to dinner, either dinner at home cooking, or depending on the day, you could have dinner with the team. And then from there, after you've had dinner, I would usually say get some schoolwork done, or maybe just chill, see some of your friends, see some of your teammates. So that's probably a bog standard day in season. And then also you've got other things to think about, whether you're traveling, whether you have like more work than normal, whether it's a game day. So yeah, there's just things to take into consideration. But I think the main thing is that time management, and just finding that routine and making sure you try and stay as consistent as you can with that.
Great stuff. And did you find you got a lot of support for that, particularly in your freshman season, how to manage your time? And I guess I know you had a player care officer, for example, at Penn State. Was she helpful in kind of helping you get that balance right?
Yeah, I think the help that I've received and the help that you do get is very, very good. They make it so it is very hard to fall back or find yourself in a difficult space. The idea of being a student athlete is so you can succeed as a student and succeed as an athlete. It's not like an impossible task that they throw you into. There has been so many students and athletes that have done it, and I think that they've mastered how players and athletes all across the sports are very good students, but also very good athletes at the same time. And the help that they give you to ensure that your classes are lined up when you need classes, and you still have time to get over to practice whilst having lunch. Everything is set out for you to succeed. And I think that's something that I want to make clear, that it's not like you're thrown into the deep end and you've got class and then 5 minutes later you start training. There is a very clear layout of the way that your day will work, and to make sure you do succeed in both areas.
That's great. I think you've captured that really well. I think that the support is there to help you succeed, as Freddie said. And it's obviously you are going into a full-time athlete status and a full-time student, but there is a lot of support out there for you, and a lot of things getting taken care of you on your behalf. So that's great to hear. So you talked about a couple of the pre-season games then, Freddie. What was your first sort of in-season game experience like, and how did that maybe compare to a big Palace Academy match that you played for previously?
Yeah, I think it was very, very, very similar. I think both environments are professional environments. There's a few things that both will focus on. And when I moved out there, I was surprised at how similar the match day routine was. The focus on fueling the body, preparing the body for a game, and preparing the mind for a game as well. There's many steps through on a game day that both I went through at Palace and I went through at Penn State. Team dinner, having a team dinner together, ensuring the food that you're eating is right, high carbs, preparing for the game, team stretching, getting the body right, which I did both at Palace and at Penn State. And then also getting to the field early, getting there an hour and 15, hour and a half before the game, so you can prepare mentally, physically. You take a walk on the field, envision the game, and these are all things that I've been doing since I was 12. So it's there was nothing changed really. And I think that was one of the main things that, coming from Palace, I was like, oh, they're going to do everything so differently. Or coming from a team in England, they're going to be doing everything differently. But it wasn't. I think people have understood how it works and how you succeed on a game day, and I think that's just well known internationally, and you're gonna find it wherever. So yeah, I wouldn't say it too dissimilar from England, and it just got me right before the game.
Brilliant. That's good to hear. You talked about communicating with the coaches. I know Jeff Cook was your coach for your first 3 years and recruited you as well. So you obviously knew Jeff well. What was your relationship like with the head coach and with the assistant coaches? And again, how important was that in the early stages?
Yeah, very, very important. I think Penn State really, really stuck out to me because of Jeff. Initially, he was a very, very good at man managing. He created a relationship with me before I'd even got there, and this allowed me to, when I got there, I felt like I was in good hands already. He made me feel at home, even though I wasn't at home, and that was one of the main reasons I picked Penn State. And then the assistant coaches, one of them was called Sean Lawler, Clint Long in my first year. They more got into the intricate details of the game and the way that they wanted us to play. And I liked the way that worked, because Jeff would, if he needed to, he would come in and give his piece, but he was more of a manager and Sean was more of a coach, which I think worked really, really well for us. And it allowed you to create relationships with both of them in a different kind of way, which was awesome. And yeah, they were really, really helpful for me.
Great. So what would your advice be then for, how best to engage or build relationship with the coaches and the support team around you for those heading out there?
I think initially trying to get in consistent contact with the coaches, just making sure you're reaching out whenever, making sure that they know that you're ready, that you want to get there and hit the ground running. Just checking in and seeing whether there's anything that they want you to do. It creates a relationship when you're not even there. So when you do get there, that relationship's already built. Then you can start building on that in person and building on that within the game. Which I think if you start that relationship now, it makes it easier for them to coach you when you get there. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's just one of them that you're starting that relationship and you're making sure they know that you're going to give them what they want, which is a good footballer, hopefully.
Good advice. And a question that comes up a lot, and you've slightly touched upon it already, is that balance in academics and playing, particularly at the start. Then, Freddie, how did you find that difficult? And again, what advice would you give out on that front?
I think it was hard, and there is times where you do need to really manage your time. But as I said, I think you're set up to succeed, and your whole schedule will be set up for you to succeed. And you also have so many people around you to help you. As you said, I had a player care liaison, I had my academic advisor, who are constantly there to help you. And I think using the people around you and not just, oh, I can do this, I'll be fine. I think using people around you is really important to making sure that you can succeed both on and off the field. Even teammates, like using your teammates. I remember my first semester, like asking the guys, I want to do business. Which classes do you think are easier than maybe some that I want to, so I can just ease myself into this program, ease myself into the school, and they'll be more than happy to help. And it's the same now. Now I'm in that position. I hope that people reach out to me, and I like it when they do, because I've got the experience that they will have in a few years and I can help them. So I'd say just using the people around you is super important. Everyone's there to make sure that you're in the best place possible. So yeah.
Good stuff. And moving on to something a bit more exciting than studying then. So spring break, tell us about your first freshman season spring break, and how did you spend spring break and then Thanksgiving as well?
My spring breaks and Thanksgiving are very different. My Thanksgiving is usually every year so far I've been to one of my teammates' house, same guy every year, and which is super nice because it's that home environment. You get that home away from home. I've built a relationship with him, with his family over a couple of years. And now it's almost like they expect me to go there for Thanksgiving, which is super nice because you're not at home, you're not with your family, but you almost feel like you are because you've been in that position over a couple of years. And the first time I went it was really nice. First Thanksgiving ever. I had no idea what to expect. But you just feel at home, and they made me feel at home, which was really nice. And then on the other hand, the spring break, I have done 2 spring breaks. We went to Florida the first spring break. Well, we did both in Florida with like a big group of teammates, which honestly is really, really good fun because you see your teammates in practice, you see them in the environment of soccer, in football, and there is a lot like every day. So when you get a chance for spring break to go away with all your mates, it's a nice change of environment, good social like bonding trip with the team, and it's just really enjoyable to get away from somewhere that you're constantly with them. So yeah, it was good fun.
Good. Speaking of breaks, we'll give you a little bit of a break, and we'll bring in Gary before we ask you the final question. There's been a load of questions coming in, some really good ones, so we'll come on to them at the end. So, Gary, I'll hand over to you just to kind of cover off a few of the practical tips, the important stuff that we mentioned at the start of the webinar for the guys and girls preparing to go out in a few weeks' time.
Thanks, Ross. Good evening, guys. Thanks for your time tonight. I'm sure you've enjoyed listening to Freddie so far. So I'm going to go over some of the more technical aspects that you guys will be going through in the next few weeks. So you'll recognise me. Some of you guys have worked with me, and a lot of you will be at the point now where you're ready to get your visa, or you've got your visa sorted already. All right. So for those that have still to get their visa, we would advise that you book a call with your consultant, and at that point, your consultant will go over all the documentation that you require at the embassy, what to expect, what questions will come up on the day, just to ensure that that is a smooth process for you. As a former student athlete, I've been through it all. The colleagues that you're working with, they've all been through it all as well. So they'll be able to help support you with all of that. Now, once you've got your visa sorted, you'll be at a point where you're ready to book travel. Okay, so the best advice we would give you is communicate that directly with your coach. Your coach will give you a sort of start date as to when he wants you over there. Freddie touched on that earlier on. So make sure that you make that clear to your coaching staff so they can arrange pickup on arrival. So typically what will happen is you will come in and the coaching staff will be on hand to pick you up. It might be the head coach, the assistant coach, a grad assistant, or they may even have a shuttle service in place for you guys. But you'll need to communicate that directly with your coaching staff for when you arrive. We touched on some of this earlier on in the call about essential travel documents. The one thing I would say is really important is having your I-20 on you. As Freddie said, of course, your visa will come inside your passport, but they will likely ask to see your I-20 upon arrival. So it's really important that you keep that in a folder in your hand luggage. Don't have it in your suitcase, okay? Because if you're getting a connecting flight, you'll need to grab that before you can then move on to your next destination. So that is really important. And then if you're going back out after Christmas time, that is something, again, that will be required upon arrival in the US. You want to have any sort of medication things that you've got with you as well, just in case in the event of any delays, maybe you have an inhaler, whatever it may be. It's important that you've got that on you at all times. And a travel plug and an adapter is very important. I remember there was one time I was traveling out to the US and I was stuck in Chicago for 2 days because of extreme weather, and I was put up in a hotel, but I had like my laptop and a charger and things that I could use. So it's really important that you've got all of that on you in your hand luggage when you arrive. Now, obviously, when you arrive on campus, you'll go through an orientation as such, just as Freddie mentioned earlier on. During that orientation, you'll get your tour around the campus, you'll get your keys for your dorms, maybe you've got a key card for your meal plan. So you'll get all of that sorted in the first couple of days through orientation, your photo ID, etc. It will be a busy couple of days, but it is really important. But you'll go through that together with all the new incoming students. Typically what will happen is in the first day or so, you'll maybe have a Walmart run with your coaching staff for the internationals, which allows you to then go and buy your pillows, your bedding, your toiletries. The best advice I would give is actually travel quite lightly. You can always pick up things when you're over there. There's no point in bringing shampoos and deodorants and loads of toiletries when you can just buy it all over there. It will save you more space in your case to pack things that you will actually need for the longer term when you're out there. With your sports equipment, obviously tonight we're here on a football webinar, all right. So as Freddie said earlier on, you will be given a lot of training kit by your coaching staff, but it's always good to bring your own boots and things with you. If there's any goalkeepers here, of course, bring your gloves, anything that you use as a player, maybe grip socks, shin guards, all that kind of stuff, running trainers. You want to bring all of that with you. You will get your t-shirts, your training tops, half zips, tracksuit bottoms when you're out there, but you want to bring your boots and things along with you, so you've got them on arrival. The climate, we touched on that, a little bit earlier on. People in this webinar tonight will all be going to different destinations out in the US. I played out in the Midwest. It was very warm in the summers and it was very cold in the winters. So you want to pack for the full semester. You're not just packing for a 2-week holiday and bringing shorts and t-shirt. You want to bring, hoodies, jumpers, jackets, hats, scarves. If you're in a climate whereby you approach the winter and it gets a little bit colder, you can always leave stuff over there. I left a lot of my clothes when I was coming home at Christmas. Our coaches allowed us to put it in a storage unit, so you don't need to take all of your suitcase back with you at the Christmas break and then travel with it back out in the January term. Some of the more logistical things would be your phone and your bank accounts. All right, so there's various sort of eSIMs that you can get nowadays. One that a lot of our guys will use is Mint Mobile or Ultra. It's an electronic digital SIM card that allows you to use your phone when you're over in the US, or you can contact your provider and see what options they might have for you. Of course, you'll have Wi-Fi around campus, as you do most days, but it's always good to have your phone so you can make calls and send texts when you're out there as well. So Mint Mobile, Ultra, or speak to your provider is probably what we would suggest. In terms of your banking, we would recommend something like Wise, Revolut, Monzo. It'll help you with transaction fees. It makes transferring money really simple, as opposed to when I was out there, 15, 20 years ago, where it took longer. These things can be done instantaneously. So if you've not done so already, then we would look to try and help support you with that. Again, this is something your consultant can have a discussion with you guys before you travel, banking, phones and things to consider before you head over there. Now, the final couple of things would just be like your health insurance, etc. All right, now, most of the time this is put through the school, okay? So your school will enroll you in their health insurance. There are some schools that will allow you to go via a third party, but the best advice we would give, is speak to your coach, speak to your admissions rep. If it's mandatory that you go through the school's insurance, that's fine. But if they're allowing you to go via a third party, we can give some examples of companies that some of our athletes have used in the past. But it's really important that you've got that cover in preparation for heading over there in the event of any injury or any illness. And the final thing I would just say is, once you're over there, we are here for you, okay? So we will check in with you to see how you're getting on, after the first couple of days to ensure that you've arrived. If you are in a position where you need to speak with your consultant, if any parents need to give us a call, you've got our mobile numbers, don't feel that you can't call us. We've all been through this. There'll be times where maybe you're having some homesickness, maybe you're struggling, maybe you've got some questions. please feel free just to reach out at any time. We will get back to you. We are here to help support you throughout the sort of next 4 years through until you graduate. All right. But we won't know if there's any issues if we don't hear from you. All right. So please do keep in mind that if there are any issues, concerns when you're over there, please just reach out and we'll give you full support.
Great stuff, Gary. Thanks for that. And just one question while you're there, and again, Freddie kind of touched upon at the start. What kind of questions should the guys be ready for at customs in the US? Typically, what would they get asked?
Yes, so a lot of the time they're just going to ask you, where you're planning going to school, what do you plan on studying? Now on your I-20, your school will be mentioned on that along with your visa. So it's just being prepared to answer that question. You're here as a student, you're studying at Penn State University, for example, in Freddie's case, and you've got the supporting documentation to back that up. So as long as you've got all your documents, you should be absolutely fine.
Great stuff. Thank you, Gary. All right, we'll go into some of the questions from the audience. We've covered a few of them already, but a couple that will be useful to know from Freddie. A good one come in for you, Freddie. Obviously, you're at a very big athletic campus at Penn State. How much interaction did you have or have you had with the other athletes from different sports?
Loads, to be honest. It's like a whole community. Some of my best pals aren't even on the soccer team. It also depends on the facility. Like initially before we got the new facility, our facility was close around men's volleyball, women's volleyball, wrestling. So initially you get close with them because you see them around. But then in social settings, you're constantly with other athletes, and yeah, you do get really close with every team on campus, which is pretty cool.
Good. And tell us about the facilities then at Penn State. I know you guys have got a new soccer field, Jeffrey Field, in the last year. What was it like moving into that new soccer facility?
Yeah, it's second to none, honestly. I've seen some facilities over the years, and I think what I saw at Penn State, it's the best facility I've ever trained in. Better than Palace Academy. I think it was when I walked in the first time, I was honestly taken back. I think in broader perspective, American facilities are very, very high. No matter the sport, I think the money invested in sporting facilities over there is incredible, and the facilities are incredible. It's awesome to be a part of such great facilities, and we're very lucky to be able to use them. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, worth a look for anyone who's not seen it. Worth going on to the PSU soccer Instagram page and having a look at and the athletic campus in general. It is fantastic. Okay. Again, you talked about your dorm then. So what was your freshman accommodation like? Describe that to us.
Yeah, so obviously I said we went in early in the summer. So we had summer accommodation, which was kind of like a temporary dorm. But the dorms are actually pretty nice these days. I was in a room with one other, pretty big room, two single beds, air conditioning, and yeah, you get a wardrobe each, a desk each. So in terms of the dorms themselves, I actually enjoyed the dorms. It is something to wrap your head around, living in the same room as someone else, but it was enjoyable. The dorms are nice, and I think I saw a question as well. Did I have to unpack my dorm when I went home? For me, no. I moved into my dorm in August or September, and I was in that dorm until the following May. So it was nice, and we made it homely. And honestly, I did like my dorm, and they were very nice.
Right. And just going through a couple of final questions. The diet again, is that something you were given to? Do you have a team nutritionist? Is that were they pretty strict on that front? And how are the meal plans?
Yeah, it's we do have a team nutritionist. First year I had a meal plan, and you would swipe into a dining hall. But again, the dining hall had unlimited options. There's just everything. They're so big. So yeah, lucky in that term, we could get anything on that meal plan, which was great. And then when my first year finished, then we moved into a house, and they do give you great tips on what to cook, where to cook, how to cook it. So then you're on your own. A lot of chicken, rice. But then again, in season, you have so many games. We had a lot of team dinners that were provided. And yeah, you spend so much time traveling with the team and with the team that a lot of the meals are provided for you. So I think in terms of diet, we had a nutritionist which really helped us. And yeah, there is the help that you need, and it's kind of just up to you being smart with what you're eating and deciding, because they can't make you eat anything, but they do give you the right tools to do it.
Absolutely. Well looked after. Okay, thanks everyone for the questions. That's great, and some really good answers from Freddie and some good insights out into how he's coped with the various challenges and opportunities as well, obviously. So we've just got a couple more questions, quick fire ones for you, Freddie. The one thing you wish you'd packed more of at the start?
I would say English snacks, like stuff from home, English snacks, like maybe a little photo if you can of your family, or your dog if you miss your dog, or something like that. Just stuff to make your new home feel like home. That's what I would say.
Is that a dog barking in the background then?
It is, yeah. He's going mental at the TV.
And the biggest surprise about the US when you first arrived?
I think how invested and how much Americans love college, and specifically college sport. Whether you're a tiny school in, I don't know, in the middle of nowhere, or a huge school like, I don't know, Ohio State or Penn State, it doesn't matter. Everyone in America absolutely loves college and loves the environment, and they love college sport. And I think I was really impressed and really taken back by how much collegiate sport and just college in general is loved out there, which is pretty awesome.
And we've seen quite a lot of media coverage of you and your teammates as well. So you obviously had to do quite a bit of media activity and some fun thing. I think we saw you singing at some point as well. So it looks pretty good fun.
I hope no one else saw that.
Good stuff. And aside from your singing then, what was the best moment of your college soccer career so far?
I think it's probably one of two. Either my first college competitive game, just playing in that environment. My mum and dad were there, which made it even nicer. But just diving into that experience of, wow, I'm playing my first competitive college game under the lights, and it's just an environment that I can't explain how awesome it was. And then the second one would be going 1-0 up against, at the time, the number one team in the nation, Syracuse, and celebrating with the student section. Yeah, literally probably one of the best moments ever. 1-0 up, you jump in with the student section, and everyone's just going absolutely berserk. It was, yeah, awesome.
Great stuff. Great moment to look back on. And yeah, I'll just ask this final question then. Did you have to do any media day photo shoots or videos then at the start?
We did, yeah. They're great fun. We'd done a few. I remember we did one freshman year. We did the loudest scream that was posted, and great photos. I love looking back at the photos over the years from freshman year to now. And yeah, media day is always a good day, good fun day. But yeah, I would say just take it all in, dive into everything, even small things like that, like a media day. Just invest yourself in it. It's so much fun, and just do everything to the best you can, and just enjoy every moment, because it flies by. I've got yeah, not long left, and I wish I was in your guys' shoes going over there for the first time. So, yeah.
Excellent. So the one piece of advice then for everybody on the call tonight, your final kind of call to action, what would that be for the student athletes going out there in a few weeks' time?
I think, similar to what I just said, just immerse yourself in everything you can. You're there for 3.5, 4 years, and it's not just the soccer, just everything about the school, whether it's, I don't know, just being present in where you are, because it is a once in a lifetime experience, and just using that to the maximum is really important for me. So I would just say, wherever you can, whatever you can do, make that experience that little bit better by just doing everything you can. I wish you all the best, but it's so much fun. Everyone on this call is gonna love it. It's such a good experience.
Brilliant. Well, you've captured that really well. Thanks for that. Thanks for all the answers and for summarising that so well at the end, Freddie. It's been great speaking to you. Been a great guest, and hopefully everyone on the call has taken quite a few different things out of that. We do have a few more questions that we'll try and put together. We've got a couple of blogs going up on the website, just capturing that advice as well. For those of you who are with FirstPoint at the moment, who are going out in a few weeks' time, we'll be sending you that kind of pre-departure guide on top of that, with a little bit more of the technical information that Gary talked about as well in his section. So yeah, very much appreciate you joining us, Freddie. We hope you have a great senior year back out at Penn State when you head out, and enjoy the rest of the summer. Thanks to everybody for joining the call. We'll have a few more webinars over the course of the year. We'll be speaking to guys and soccer players once they're back out in the States, just to kind of give you that sort of insight into the student athlete experience. It's always great having people who've been there, done it, and sharing their own experiences about college life, because that's the best way that we can communicate what it's all about to everybody who's interested. So appreciate everyone's time. As I said at the start, we have recorded the session, so anybody who registered for the webinar will be getting a follow-up message with a recording, so that you can kind of watch it back, or if you've missed any of it, catch up on some of the answers that you might have missed. So we'll be sharing that within the next 24 hours. So thanks again, everybody. Thanks to Freddie and Gary. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Good luck to everybody who is going out in the next few weeks. And hopefully we'll see a few of you in a few years' time doing what Freddie's done with us tonight, and passing on your advice to the next generation of college soccer players. All right. Thank you.